contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome to War Room Pandemic. This is Stephen K. Bannon. We're live from the financial capital of the world. That would be New York City. We're in Midtown Manhattan today, and we're at the broadcast center of G News, Guo Media. It is Friday, the 28th of February, the year of our Lord 2020, and we're on episode 28. We're live on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Salem Broadcast Radio Network throughout the country, America's Voice.news, the streaming platform of the Trump movement, both in the United States and worldwide. And we're also on FM 99.1 in Chicago and 103.9 in Schaumburg, the Chicago suburbs. Thank you very much for joining us. We're basically up here for the next 4 or 5 days on Wall Street at the financial capital as this pandemic spreads from Wuhan, China, and Hubei province, now globally throughout the world and also into the financial markets of the world, whether those financial markets are in London, whether in Shanghai, Tokyo, or now on Wall Street in the United States. We had many experts. The reason we came up here, we're having many experts that are going to join us, but this is a historic meltdown of the world's capital markets. And so our experts are at their trading desk. And what we've been able to do is bring in one of the top really minds about hedge fund and investing, Miles Guo. You know Miles as the head of G News in Guo Media. Miles is also, what people don't understand, he's not just a whistleblower. He's always been a top investor, hedge fund, and he one time worth, I don't know, Miles, 25 or 30 billion dollars. I forget how much the CCP stole for you. Also joined by Jack Maxey. Jack has just gotten a haircut and cleaned himself up for our broadcast, and we got his picture up there. So Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon, Miles Guo, live from the financial capital of the world, New York City, and we're in Midtown Manhattan at the broadcast center of G News, which is this news source of Miles that broadcasts throughout the world, but really focuses on broadcasting to the Chinese people. Now, today on the show, we're going to go through a couple of things. Number one, we obviously want to talk about how this contagion is spreading throughout the world's financial markets and what impact that's going to have in your life. Remember, this show, the War Room Pandemic, we're now in, I think, our 5th or 6th week. We were the first ones to identify that this was going to be a global health pandemic, but also an economic pandemic that would eventually move to the world's capital markets and impact both the economy, your pocketbook that way, also your savings account, your stock portfolio, your pension fund, your retirement plan, and most importantly, the direction of the country and your health. The second part of this, we're going to go throughout the world. Jack's got an update of how this thing is spreading throughout the world. Then we're going to come back. In the second part of the show, Miles has got a lot of breaking news from inside China. Overnight, there was a very disturbing thing that happened in Hong Kong. Many of the leaders, Jimmy Lee, who's the publisher and founder of Apple News, which is the #1 newspaper for freedom in China, in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and gets into mainland China also, was essentially arrested last night, along with 3 democracy movement leaders. We had Jimmy Lee's partner on the show 2 weeks ago. Mark Simons was on the show and talking about all the good work they're doing. They were arrested last night on phony charges dealing with a protest in August. It's really about what's happening with the pandemic, and Miles Guo is going to be here to tell us everything about that. So first, I want to talk about and bring Miles in. Miles, thank you very much for joining us, brother. Really appreciate it. The stock market is now, Jack, where are we at right now? We're down 1,000 points. Or
Dow Jones is down 845 right now, 855 just now.
Okay, this has been historic. These things over the last 10, 15, 20 years have always been because of big movements in the world. In 1998, we had the long-term capital implosion and also the problem with the Russian currency that led to a big implosion in 1998. In 2001, we had the issue of the internet stocks, and also 9/11 later had the 9/11 implosion. Then we had in 2008, we had the financial crisis, and really, as we say all the time, the financial crisis of 2008, the financial crisis of the real estate in the United States, and particularly all these securities that were built to run it, led to the election of Donald Trump, led to this populist movement that was in the United States. And I've said consistently, the populist nationalist movement throughout the world was led by the financial crisis. It was a reaction to the elites. It was a reaction to the party of Davos. And what you're seeing now, and I think what's causing this and driving this, is the lack of information coming out of Beijing, the lack of information coming from the CCP. President Xi says the virus is a demon, and we cannot allow that demon to hide. And that's what I tell you, if the CCP did a better job of explaining exactly what was going on with the virus in China, and if they did a better job of explaining to the world what's the true economic situation of China, since we've now through the globalization project, everything's dependent upon China. Everything, the whole world's logistics system and supply chain all deal with China. If we had more perfect information coming out from that, we wouldn't have the problems, I think, in the rest of the world, not just of the spreading of the coronavirus physically to different areas of the world, but also now the economic contagion is now spreading. So that's what you have. Miles, I want to start first. You as an investor, people know you, brother, as a whistleblower and all that. But one of the reasons you're a whistleblower, you were at the height of understanding the senior leadership in Beijing, the senior leadership of the CCP, for the simple reason you were a very successful businessman. You had the Pangu Hotel, you were at hotels, conferences, your business, but you're also one of the most successful investors in China. What's your assessment today of the world's capital markets as things look like they're melting down throughout the world?
Thank you, sir. I really believe it's from the China government, the CCP, gave about coronavirus. All the data is fake.
You believe CCP is putting out fake numbers on the virus itself?
Yes. First of all, is scared China economy go to collapse.
They think that you think that they're scared that the Chinese economy will actually collapse.
Yes. So now it's a high priority. It's the want China, the share market economy is keep it stable. So they may nominate Hong Kong the share price, Shanghai the share price, and whereas everything the truth.
Okay, I want to slow down here because this is very important for the audience out there. Last night when Nikkei, which is Tokyo, was in meltdown, we had the meltdown, over 1,000 points, biggest single day drop in the history of New York Stock Exchange yesterday. They had then additionally the overnight futures market was dropping. Many of the analysts are sitting there going, well, and these people are very naive, but they're sitting there going, well, how bad can it be? Because Shanghai's not meltdown. Hong Kong's not meltdown. Is that the CCP forcing buying, not allowing people to sell the stocks and then into the market to prop the stock price up?
100% yes, sir. I have the investment. I have investment with hedge fund with totally more than 50 billions.
You have 50 billion.
50 billion
deployed throughout the world.
Yes, we have a lot of shares buy from Hong Kong. So we're very, concerned about the Hong Kong the share markets, but we have a lot of evidence and truth from the inside. Is CCP is the use of the computer, the data, the buttons that control this Hong Kong the share market price. So this is all the fake economy, any data. This is why the world now is go to disaster. You think that Tokyo, everywhere the markets go down? Sir, this is not the worst. Everything just beginning. Because CCP gave you the data and about the coronavirus, all this fake news, fake data. This number one is a dangerous risk.
Okay, I want to go, Jack, to draft off what Miles is saying. Let's talk about some of the data we see coming out of China, particularly things like oil, the oil shipments, et cetera. You've got a pretty good analysis there.
Well, to give you an idea of what's going on in China economically, Middle Eastern oil imports are at 12% of what they were a year ago. Container shipments.
And that's what drives the Chinese economy. The Chinese economy is basically driven. This is why you have China as a partner to Iran. This is why they're partners to the mullah. They're the ones keeping the Iran mullahs in business because they have this huge output deal with them. They're all over the Saudis. They're all over UAE. Was it 80% of their energy, besides coal, comes from bringing in Middle East oil. You're saying that is not down 12%. You're saying it's at
12% of what it was a year ago.
It's at 12% of what it was a year ago. So that shows you an economy that is basically locked up, right?
Right, and then they say that they've got container ships showing up or leaving Shanghai and other ports with 10 to 20% of their normal cargoes. And the biggest problem that nobody is paying attention to, and this is nationwide for China, they only have about probably 20, 30% of their truck drivers back at work. So even if I take a container from Shanghai to some province in the north, there's no one to drive it there, and there's no one to drive back the empty container to bring to the port. It's a real backlog.
You know, this gets back to what the central problem is, and the reason we wanted to start today with the financial contagion. Kevin Warsh was on CNBC this morning. Now, Kevin Warsh, for the audience out there, he was what we call the cover bid to be the head of the Federal Reserve for President Trump. You know, Powell got it, but there are a lot of people. Warsh had been in the Treasury Department, I think, during the financial crisis of 2008. He was a steady pair of hands. He's, I think, a former Fed governor. He was the guy, President Trump actually called him out at one of these meetings a couple weeks ago and said, hey, Kevin, you were going to be my backup bid, and maybe I should have gone with you. You should have done. Kevin Warsh did an amazing job of calming people down. And that's one of the things we talk about is that, look, the only thing we have to fear, it's fear itself. But what you need is the truth, and you need facts. If people have the facts, they can make judgments. What we have said from day one, the reason we did this show and started 6 weeks ago is that we said there is something happening at a scale that's never happened before in human history in central China. And that the CCP has known about it and lied about it. Regardless of what the origins are, it came out of a P4 lab, either a vaccine or a weapon, or it just naturally occurred in central China somehow. They knew about this, they suppressed that information, and this thing metastasized. And what we need, and the reason we did the show, is to make sure that real information comes out. Now, Kevin Warsh was on there today, and what Kevin Warsh was talking about was about central banks making a statement over the weekend to come together for either another rate cut or for some more liquidity. Now, the problem we have, unlike the financial crisis, this is not about credit capacity. This is not about liquidity infusion. There's plenty of credit out there. Interest rates now, I think the 10-year bond is down at 1.5%.
No, 1.19.
1.1%. 1.1%. The 10-year bond is 1. These are levels have never been seen before. Okay? We don't have a financial crisis right now. We have a meltdown of financial markets. And why do we have a meltdown of financial markets? It gets back to the same thing. We have a lack of real information coming out of China. All these facts you're doing, we're pulling those out from other reports that's now coming out. It's been reported by Financial Times, etc. But it's not the CCP out there giving you a frank assessment every day of what's going on. And remember, what we have is an economic problem. You know, President Trump identified this a couple of years ago, that there's too much, the CCP controls too much of the world's production and logistics chain, and they're not a trustworthy partner. They have suckered us into this China price, and this China price comes at a huge cost. Miles Guo has been blowing the whistle on that for years and years and years, and people have said, particularly the Wall Street crowd in the United States, he's a liar, he's crazy, whether it's H&A or any of these other things he's exposed. And now we see in high relief that nobody can run and hide from it anymore. No more lies and no more spin, because this is a reality. You have the coronavirus on the healthcare side, but you also have an economic contagion, and that economic contagion is spreading. Yesterday, we talked about the U.S. economy. We talked about what's happening in the U.S. economy. In San Pedro, right, one of the reasons we have, trucks that don't have to get to the distribution centers, to go to Walmart, to go to the supply chain, is that the ships that do show up or only have 1/3 of the cargo on it.
Right.
And now we know from your report is that, hey, they're only getting full of 1/3 of the cargo. And here's the reason. The trains aren't totally running, and there's only 20% of the truck drivers have come back to China. And not just that, as Miles told us last week, they're really at DEFCON 1 as far as this grid system goes in lockdown. And this is what not been fully explained. On a biblical scale, Wuhan in Hubei province is the size of France. They still have 50 to 100 million people in quarantine. And we put up overnight, you've seen this, the new tactics. They have SWAT teams out pulling people out of cars that are not participating in this quarantine. But there's still the rest of China that is under some form of a lockdown, at least 600 or 700 million people, which is 1/10 of the world's population, okay? And that's never been done before. So the more accurate information, remember, as President Roosevelt said in President Trump's command presence the other day, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. But, and I want to go to John Barry. John Barry had this great quote. John Barry, Miles, wrote the book on the Spanish influenza back in 1918. What was his quote?
The book's called The Great Influenza, the story of the deadliest pandemic in history, published in 98. Recommend everybody read it because it'll give you an idea of what's probably to come. And he writes in sort of in a concluding way about what are some of the failures that occurred. And he says, in my view, the most important lesson from 1918 is to tell the truth. Though that idea is incorporated into every preparedness plan I know of, its actual implementation will depend on the character and leadership of the people in charge when the crisis erupts.
Miles, I've talked to many financial people we're going to have on the show in the next couple of days. They're all at their desk. And the reason that they're at desk, they have never seen a meltdown like this, even in 2008. We're now on the 5th day of it, over 1,000 points down on the New York Stock Exchange. Can you get us up to date in because you're a truth teller. Now, the CCP has consistently said you're a liar, and everything you've talked about, H&A, and now they're in receivership. The Hong Kong situation, which they're now arresting the leaders of the Hong Kong movement overnight for lies, right? They're lying about why they're arresting him. You know, this pandemic, which you told me early on that this was going to be, people should understand this. Miles Guo told me in early January that this was going to be a big deal. When we did the broadcast on G News and Guo Media for Chinese New Year, for Lunar New Year, back on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of January, we already knew then from all your listeners and readers in China, they were blowing up the social media thing, telling us how bad it was. You told me in early January this is going to be a big deal. In your best assessment, where is the Chinese economy right now? We just saw Starbucks is trying to open the stores back up. The Chinese government saying, hey, we're trying to get these factories back up and running. In your assessment, where is the Chinese economy today, and what is the CCP? Can we believe what they're telling the world?
Thank you, sir. Sir, before you work in the Goldman Sachs, right?
Yes, I did work in Goldman Sachs. I used to dress a little different.
So you know the economy.
Yes.
Year today, all the global, the share market down.
Yes.
But which country is the share market up?
The one country the share market was up was in China, was in Shanghai.
But you as a professional expert, could you give me what's the reason?
It was ridiculous.
All the global is coming down, only China is up, but where from the virus? Sir.
Virus is from China.
Virus is from China. Where does the economy go up? All the global go down. What's the reason? How can do? Only one solution. Put minority computer, make a fake the share market. Only one. Nobody can put China go up. I give you 100 hours ago, my French people call me.
French people? Your
French my partner say, Miles, French, nobody can get the virus. Now, years today, 36 cases.
36 have the virus, right?
It's the
right.
1 week ago.
Right. You can't,
1 week ago, 120 hours ago, Italy, my partner called me.
Italy,
Miles, we know virus, definitely. Now, how many people die?
It's hundreds. Hundreds have got the virus. I think 20 are dead.
My family, somebody that, in the school in UK, some friend in the Irani.
Yes.
They say, uncle, I want to go back to Iran. Iran is safe. I say, don't go back to Iran. How many people die? Minister. Where's the president?
The former ambassador to the Vatican is dead.
Okay.
In Iran.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's my friend. All the Chinese Hong Kong billionaire innovators are not in America, in New Zealand. They call me Miles. I'm with your partner. I have a safe area, New Zealand. Now, 10 hours ago, one case. Confirmed, right?
In New Zealand, yes.
I give you one answer, sir. Okay. I'm an investor. We hedge fund giving me everyday report.
Yeah.
Why is CCP registered Hong Kong as the lead?
Okay, this is the question I want to get to. Jimmy Lee, and people should understand this, he runs the best paper. Jimmy Lai runs the best paper in Hong Kong. It is the Apple News. It's a freedom newspaper. He was arrested overnight, which is, he was a guy on 60 Minutes a couple of months ago. So this is a major player. Arrested last night, and all the leaders of the democracy, three people swept up, right?
Li Zuoren, yeah.
Albert Ho, too.
Albert Ho and Li Zuoren, yes.
Okay, now, they were arrested on the pretenses, it was from a demonstration in August of 2019. Yeah. Do you think that's the truth, Miles Guo?
100% truth. They this time get arrested not because of protests, anti-tradition law. They know some Hong Kong various the truth, the members' data. Here, you like this is the put out document. You can go to find the website. G News all the put outside. Just here, 20,000 confirmed case.
20,000. 20,000 cases in
just
Hong Kong.
Years today,
in Hong Kong.
They get this, that everybody can go to check.
Yep.
But
that's going to be up on G News.
So this is why they worried the guy is talking the truth. They arrested him. Same in Wuhan, arrested a doctor and Li Wenliang doctor. You know, he's talking the first, talking the truth.
Yes.
Now, China economy, my hedge fund talking to me. All the China.
Hang on 1 second. We got to go to a commercial break. We're
going to hold this. Please.
So Miles Guo is going to get us up on what the reality of the Chinese economy. We're also going to go swing around the world about what's happening around the world, and we're going to come back to the United States. We're going to talk about President Trump's action, the administration's action, what's happening with CDC, and also at the end talk about how you can start to prepare for this yourself. War Room Pandemic, episode 28, will return from New York City.
For Pandemic, here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room Pandemic. It's Friday, the 28th of February, the year of our Lord, 2020. We're live on the John Fredericks Radio Network, on Salem Radio throughout the nation, on AmericasVoice.news, the streaming platform for the Trump movement here in the United States and throughout the world. We're also honored to be in Chicago on FM 99.1 and FM 103.9 in the Chicago suburbs. I'm here with Jack Maxey, who runs the War Room Day today, and Miles Guo, our co-host today. We've been on Wall Street for the last couple of days. We're going to be through the weekend, and also we're trying to do a weekend show. Don't know if we'll be able to pull that off. Might have to anchor that in D.C., and I'll be here live. And one of the reasons we want to come up is for the simple fact that coronavirus is now starting to spread throughout the world, as we said it was going to happen. But as importantly, the economic contagion coming from China is spreading throughout the world, and we're in the middle of a financial markets meltdown, whether those bonds, stocks throughout the world, everywhere except, surprisingly, the Shanghai Exchange, which is for a number of reasons. Number one, they won't let people sell. Number two, they're infusing it with cash to buy shares. They're trying to prop it up. But essentially, everything coming from the CCP has been a lie, will continue to be a lie. We're going to get into that with Miles Guo and ever. Remember, President Xi continues to tell us that this virus is a demon and we cannot allow this demon to hide. We're here trying to help President Xi every day on War Room Pandemic to tell the truth. Remember, we have nothing to fear on this except fear itself. As President Roosevelt said in the Great Depression, and President Trump essentially implied the other night when he said, hey, let's take a deep breath, let's get on top of this. The partisan politics has already started to rear its ugly head here in the United States, but we have to pull together as a country, we have to pull together as the West, we have to pull together as the world, and actually, if we could ever get some truth out of Beijing, hopefully even pull together with China one day. We want you as part of this show. We've gotten tremendous feedback. It is hashtag War Room Pandemic, all one word. And some of the feedback we've got already has been taken account of. You said the other day I look like a caveman with our War Room Pandemic logo. I look like a caveman, so I shaved. And Jack Maxey looked like a 60-year-old Dennis the Menace. He got a haircut, looks great, but we got him up in a picture today, not his thing. So I want to turn, Miles, a second to China before Jack's going to walk us around the world. Jack Maxey gave us some very disturbing numbers coming out of China. Only 12% of oil imports from the Middle East are being used now. The cargo ships are leaving 1/3 full. And people should understand these cargo ships are usually over 100% of capacity. One of the problems of the cargo ship is to make sure they're not over capacity so they don't sink or they don't, flip over. So they always have a thing of, they don't have enough capacity on the vessels. Now you have vessels 1/3 full. You have just told me during the break, another problem is that none of the airline captains want to fly into China. The reason that we don't have flights in the United States is the unions, essentially the American Airlines, I think Cathay Pacific and others have just said, hey, the flight attendants and the pilots said, we're not going to fly into there. In your assessment, because China has been such a driving force in the world's economy, where is the Chinese economy today? And they're saying before they projected this year 6.5% growth. Xi has always presented himself as, hey, I'm the emperor. I can deliver this growth, and this is why you make a deal with me. I treat you like a slave, but I give you a better material lifestyle. 6% growth. They're now saying it's probably down to 1% or 2%, but it's not negative, not flat or negative. What is the truth in China today about its economy?
Same 4 weeks ago, CCP announced about the Wuhan virus. We can control, we can solve it. It's from animal, no personal to personal.
Okay, yes, they said we can control it. It's person to person. It's from an animal. We have it under control, and it's not going to affect the economy. That was 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, 4 weeks ago. Then you see the GDP can 2%. No, it must be negative growth, 20% collapse.
You think your belief is that China is going to have a 20% negative growth, basically essentially a collapse of the Chinese economy.
Not only my belief. I talk this about, basement I have the inside intelligence give me. This is the truth, this is the fact.
Okay, we're going to have to back that up with some facts. One thing, let me just say, you see companies like Starbucks are trying to get open their stores. They were the first one to shut down. They shut down all their retail thing. Number one, they were afraid of their employees getting it. But as importantly, as we talk to people, they were afraid about the liability of people getting at Starbucks and then coming back and suing them. In the face of what you're saying of the essential demise of the Chinese economy, when you look at things like Starbucks and you see even Terry Guo, your old friend, told CCP, but Foxconn, which makes basically the Apple phones in thing, trying to get their workforce back in southern China. How do you back that up with a fact? How do you back that up with when you see companies trying to get started, although there's very little evidence that it actually is happening?
Sir, you look for this last 70 hours. In China mainland, 137 biggest real estate company, commercial bank, and the supply chain company, all the clubs close. This is almost China's supply chain number one important. All the biggest company is clubs.
China has $40 trillion, I think, of debt on the different companies, right? It's a leverage. The government's leveraged. More. The companies, banks are leveraged. These regional banks, 50 trillion. All these regional banks are leveraged. We knew even before the pandemic, the biggest crisis facing Chinese economy was over leverage and the failure. We started to see these regional banks start to fail at the end of 2019. Are you saying you believe that the real economy, not the financial economy, that part of that contraction is because you're going to start to see, and I think H&A either went into receivership or part receivership, and that at one time was the largest financial company in the world. Do you think it's because of over leverage and China's too leveraged? They can't pay these debts back?
Yes, sir, sure. Over leverage, over product, now is the supply chain. It's a break off. This is all the China economy trouble. So it's negative growth is for sure.
Negative growth for sure.
I think 20% at the collapse.
Jack, let's go around the world right now and what's happening. We just got a report when we started the broadcast. There's 2 coronavirus victims in Mexico. Let's start in Europe. Let's go to Italy, France. What's our updates from around the world? Take us around the world.
Italy, I think, is a great country to follow because I think it's going to show what's going to happen to other advanced countries that have great medical systems and great systems in place. Italy now has 650 cases, 15 deaths. We spoke to someone from Italy last night. Milan is essentially just a ghost town. And here's something to show you just how this virus can...
People should understand, Milan's a ghost town during Fashion Week.
Right.
This is a central driving focus of the Italian economy is fashion, particularly high-end fashion. They basically didn't have Fashion Week. They shut down first off, they canceled most of it. What they did have, like Giorgio Armani, and Miles is one of the fashion horses in the world. He's been to the Milan fashion shows many times. They wouldn't let the public in.
No.
They barely let buyers in. And they're, as I talk to people in Italy, they're saying, hey, Northern Italy, Lombardy, the driving economic engine of Italy.
75%.
Well, is that 55% is essentially in curfew, but even a city like Milan, which would be a buzz of activity during Fashion Week and after, is a ghost town.
Now think about this. Greece got their first 3 cases yesterday. All of those cases came from 2 women fashion designers who were at the closed buying sessions in Milan, and one of their children now has it. Breaking right now, Iceland has a single case. Little Iceland, isolated Iceland, has a case from a visitor from Italy. The World Health Organization, I think, really has a problem here. They say,
I know this is going to be a sensitive topic, but we've essentially, the airline union stopped the flights from China. We've stopped Chinese national. Does the United States have to make a decision about stopping flights? And look, I've spent a lot of time in Italy. I love the political parties over there. But do people have to start to make a decision about stopping flights in from Italy?
Well, here's what I think we need to make a decision about. We need to make a decision about whether or not this can be contained, as the Maoist head of the World Health Organization, Tedros from Ethiopia, says it can be. Or do we recognize that this thing is going to move around the world, and we need to start taking public health measures to ameliorate it rather than contain it?
Okay, this is what I want to say, but I want to turn back to Miles Guo here about particularly the head of the World Health Organization, who I think has been an unmitigated disaster since it started. He's kowtowed to the CCP. He's had nothing but terrible information out there. He refuses to call it today. It's not even a pandemic as far as the World Health Organization. It's a global health emergency, as now it's spread, I think, to 44 countries throughout the world. This guy's from Ethiopia. He's part of the Maoist party there. The reports we got from Dave Ramaswamy, from our Indian Hindu contributor who comes on the show, who's now in India with the Modi celebrations, he said this guy's a disaster. He's worked with him for 25 or 30 years. Why has we allowed the World Health Organization to kowtow to the CCP?
BGY, we call BGY, I think it's behind minority controlled by CCP. West of the world, if America is always, about the CCP, the deal, everything related to the CCP, the problem, all the problems are too high. No, sir. Virus is number one major problem, but another virus is west of the world, politician and the media. You are talking lie now. You kill people. 4 weeks ago, the west of the world, not many people. Now, every week, one time it grows.
Yes.
One time it grows. You are politician, you media, you talk, no, this is not a big deal. It's the same code. You don't need to wear the mask. You look at the French, Macron, go to the street, don't take care of the mask. After this guy, 8 hours, 36 guys grew.
And say Macron changed his attitude. You're saying he dismissed this early on. But when he went to the hospital and saw the victims, he came out and he had a totally different...
100% of the CCP, propaganda, liar. Also, you look at American media, they don't talk the truth. They don't talk the truth. It's how popular is to kill people. Also, all the government, they don't like this economy down. They talk a lie. They keep the truth. This is another virus problem. You look every week, one time grows. And the media don't talk the truth. But everywhere, new case confirmed. They just talk, we economy. This is really crazy, sir. That's why the war room is very important now. Too ridiculous. All the Chinese crush the cyber world, watch predominantly war room. Only can listen you from the truth. So all the global 7.7 billion people.
How important is for us to demand...
Just another disaster, sir.
How important is for us to demand that the firewall come down so that Chinese Chinese people can have direct
This is why I
communication?
love you. You're the Chinese hero. You take down the firewall, give all the global people now what is real. They need to take a picture about the virus. This is the solve This virus number one solution. This is the discover cure.
I just want to make sure that you believe that we're not going to get a full, real picture of what's going on in China until the firewall. We demand number one thing.
Just you talk this, all the Chinese appreciate you. Everybody send the voice. I love Bannon. I love Bannon. I know. Few times cannot virus cannot discover the cure. But we need to know truth. No, don't need the government to tell me what they can do. If I know the truth, I go back to my home, maybe my hometown, by myself, quarantine.
Right.
But now everybody talk the lie.
Right.
Oh, no problem. You look at Macron, you look at the media, all the lie. But your lie can kill the many people, sir.
This gets to the point of the biggest victims of this. Now the world's going to suffer, but the biggest victim of this from the beginning has been the Chinese people. The CCP has lied to the Chinese people, has tried to keep the information from them. And the only way we're going to get the truth is have a direct conversation with the Chinese people. The way this got to come down is a firewall. I want to go back to the economics for a second, Jack. One of the things they're worried about in Washington this morning, there's a force majeure provision, as there are in many contracts for the China deal. And right now, there's signals coming out of Beijing that they're thinking about, and there were some reports on the business media this morning, that Beijing's thinking about putting forward the force majeure clause because they can't either do the purchases or they want the tariffs rolled back or they want all these other aspects of it. Now, Washington, we're hearing that say, hey, President Trump, the administration said, hey, the deal's the deal, right? What's the latest on that?
Well, this morning, Wei Jingao, and I hope I have the pronunciation correct, a former deputy minister responsible for foreign trade, said that the Chinese government will definitely complete the agricultural portions of the deal. But he did say that if the other side of the deal, the more industrial side, if they can't meet their contracts, that they will redouble their efforts and make good on them immediately after the coronavirus ends. But this is a little bit of a signal, right, that it's coming. And I think you're watching them try and do this with LNG imports, with other groups. So,
but this makes sense about the agricultural purchases, Miles. I mean, listen, one of the things that's so suspicious or makes people so uncomfortable about this virus is that the CCP, China, lost half of their hog and pig population in essentially August and September this year. It really hit the world as a shock. They had this swine flu. In fact, Dr. Tenner at Bloomberg's Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, the tabletop exercise, and by the way, if you had listened to Pandemic from the very first show, we talked about this tabletop exercise, a computer exercise he did in October because of the swine flu, before this coronavirus was even out there. He did it that showed 65 million people.
Hold on, give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
You talk about this part. 8 months ago, I with you in the room talk Xinjiang. They arrest 2 million people, 1 million people. They wanted the Muslim eat pork. In China, there's no pork can eat, right?
Yes.
Then after 8 months,
they wanted the Uyghurs. They were going to force the Uyghurs to eat pork.
Everybody want to eat the pork.
Yeah.
They want to display is the religion, right?
Right. Destroy the Muslim.
Chinese people, no pork can eat. They don't want to buy pork from America. China, no pork. Another 8 months, you remember you and me here.
Yes.
They want Hong Kong people. They make the rule of the law. Nobody can legally wear the mask.
No mask. You can't hide behind a mask.
All the Chinese now must be wear the mask.
Yes.
What is this? Reincarnation the karma. Now, CCP want all the world listen to CCP. We know virus. We know more people die. No more confirmed case. What does happen, sir? All the world media and the government follow the CCP again. Everybody must be big trouble. You need to learn 8 months ago what happened in Xinjiang, what happened in Hong Kong. Now they want the same with the virus, sick, send it to go to the world. Liar before just take your money. Before 50 years, America no one time win. Now the liar is kill your life, kill your family. This is not killing. I can personally, as the next 1 2 months, all the global economy at collapse. No 10% collapse. No, what 10%, no 20%, it's collapse. All the supply chain collapse. More the country is to go up.
So you don't believe any of the statistics you're seeing coming out of the CCP? You don't buy any of it? You don't believe anything that they're telling us about
Zero truth.
about the factories starting to get back up, about companies trying to get back up, about all their efforts to do it. You don't think it's going to get any traction inside
Even the
China?
one truth, they can work in WHO, American CDC go to China. Why they don't want anybody going to China?
Let me ask you about the purchases. They clearly are going to need agricultural purchases. They clearly have the capital because they can just create the money.
They no money. They know by the contract, the trade deal. Impossible. CCP is collapse. This year is no CCP. For sure, sir. This is why all the Chinese follow to war room. Because you talk all the truth. Chinese are not stupid, the Chinese. They know CCP die. CCP no money buy you any agriculture, any food, anything impossible. America think about I want to keep the deal. No way. You because want to make the deal, driven by perfect, you lose everything. Sir.
You think that what the markets are saying, what Wall Street's saying, is that they're signaling maybe that hey, we may not be able to we'll do the agriculture part now.
Right.
We can't do the industrial part, particularly I guess
Wall
some
Street,
things.
sir, after this, you are the number one hero in the world in that Wall Street. Because you talk the truth.
I've never been a hero of Wall Street, but I'll take that. I'll take that.
Wall Street.
Yes, because we told the truth.
Right.
Yes.
Remember today.
We told people, by the way, if you had listened to Pandemic from the beginning, you wouldn't be surprised about the sell-off.
6 months ago, you and me together, we talk all the Chinese, buy food, keep you home.
Yes.
Buy water, keep you home.
Yes.
Change the cash in home. We risk how many people? Bannon, Miles Guo, and Lude, we all this hero.
Yes.
But now, I want Wall Street now. If you invest in any dollar, immediately take it back. If you don't take it back, you lose everything.
In China.
In China, in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Also, American economy must be calmed down. No way go up. 10 years stronger here, stop now. CCP is make the poison, give all the world. You must be now. This is not only give Chinese, it give the world. They don't want the Xinjiang people. They want Xinjiang people eat pork, China no pork. They want the Hong Kong no legally mask, all the world have a mask. Now they want the world. Everybody know where it is. You guide the word is, sir.
We've got only a couple of minutes left. Anything else to add? We got Mexico's got the coronavirus. Any other updates before we got to leave? We're going to try to do a special. We're trying to get up and running on 7 days a week. Probably tomorrow we're going to do it out of the war room in D.C. We'll be here in Wall Street. We'll be plugged in. But remember, this is now 24/7. You can go to our site, War Room Pandemic. You'll get constant updated information throughout the world. We get the best sources in the world on this. Also, hashtag War Room Pandemic, all one word. We want your comments. We want your observations. Look, I listened. I shaved. Jack got a haircut. We cleaned up. Unfortunately, I'm always sitting here next to, dressed in my combat fatigues. And I've always got Miles Grow and $10,000 worth of nice suits. Anything else throughout the world we should report before we go today, Jack?
I think things we got to keep an eye on. Nigeria obviously has a case.
They came from Italy.
Yes, it was an employee of one of the multinational oil companies there who flew in from Italy. Mexico has 2 court cases also that
Iceland.
also came from Italy.
Okay. There's going to be constant updates throughout the day on the site about the United States and then what you can do to prepare for this. Okay, Stephen K. Bannon, War Room Pandemic. Want to thank Miles Grove for changing his activities in the day and actually coming back into the city. He was out at conferences. He came back in to help us since all of our Wall Street colleagues are at the desk. As I say on Wall Street on a day like today, it's a tough day at the office. A historic meltdown in the world's financial markets caused by this virus that has come out of Wuhan, Hubei, China. And the CCP still fails to give us full and frank information. We'll continue to press every day. For all of our viewers, all of our listeners throughout the world, we wish you to be safe. Take good care of yourself. Stephen K. Bannon, Jack Maxey, and our guest host, Miles Grow. We will see you tomorrow.